My name is Sarah Bennett, and I am 81 years old. I've lived long enough to learn that time doesn't heal everything. It only teaches you how to carry certain pains without dropping them in public. Tonight, I sit in my small living room with a blanket across my knees, the kind my granddaughter knitted for me last winter. Soft yarn, bright colors, too cheerful for the heaviness in my chest. Outside my window, the rain taps the glass like a patient visitor who refuses to leave. And on the table beside my chair sits a cardboard box, a plain, worn thing, no bigger than a shoebox. But it weighs more than anything I've carried in my entire life. Because inside that box are the letters I wrote to my best friend for 3 years. Letters I poured my soul into. Letters I mailed. Letters I prayed over. Letters that were never sent. I know that now. I didn't know it back then. Back then, I was 21 years old, and I still believed the world was mostly good. I still believed that if you loved someone enough, you could reach them no matter what stood between you. I was wrong. God, I was wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where it really began. I met Eleanor Morrison when we were 7 years old. It was the first week of school in Charleston, and I was new, shy, skinny, and carrying a lunchbox that smelled faintly like metal and peanut butter. The other kids didn't talk to me much, but Eleanor did. She sat beside me on the playground swing and said, "You look like you're thinking too hard." I blinked at her, confused. What? She swung higher, her brown curls bouncing, her smile bright as the sun. "My mama says people who think too hard end up with wrinkles early." I laughed before I could stop myself. And that was it. That was the beginning of the kind of friendship you don't get twice in one lifetime. Eleanor was the kind of girl who could make you feel like you mattered, like you weren't invisible, like the world had room for you. She loved books and daisies and those silly romance movies at the theater downtown. She loved the smell of rain on warm pavement. She loved old songs on the radio and the idea of traveling somewhere far away where nobody knew your name. And she loved freedom, even if she didn't know the word for it yet. We grew up together like two vines wrapped around the same fence, always close, always leaning on each other. We whispered secrets under blankets. We shared lipstick in the school bathroom. We held each other through first heartbreaks and family arguments and dreams too big for our little town. And Eleanor had dreams. She wanted to write, she wanted to study literature, she wanted to live in New York City and drink coffee in little cafes and wear coats that made her look like a movie star. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted a stable life, a simple one. But Eleanor wanted the sky. And for a while, I believed she'd get it. Then Thomas Whitmore arrived. In the spring of 1965, Charleston buzzed with one name like it was a prayer: Whitmore. Thomas Whitmore was wealthy, old money, powerful money, the kind of money that didn't just buy things, it moved people. He was 52 years old. Eleanor was 21. The first time I saw him, it was at a charity event. Eleanor had dragged me along because she didn't want to go alone. "Just 1 hour," she promised, adjusting her gloves nervously. "Then we'll sneak out and get milkshakes." She looked beautiful that night, too beautiful, like she belonged in a magazine. A soft blue dress, pearls at her throat, eyes shining with youth and uncertainty. Thomas Whitmore spotted her across the room like a hunter. I still remember it. He wasn't loud. He didn't have to be. He walked like the room was his property, like every chandelier and every conversation belonged to him. When he approached Eleanor, he smiled politely, perfectly, but something in his eyes didn't smile at all. He kissed her hand just like a gentleman, and Eleanor blushed like a schoolgirl. "Miss Morrison," he said smoothly, "I've been hoping to meet you." After that, he was everywhere. Flowers at her doorstep, invitations to dinner, gifts that made her uncomfortable but also dazzled her. Expensive perfume, silk scarves, jewelry too heavy for her delicate wrists. And people loved it. They called her lucky. They called it a fairy tale. They said she'd never have to worry again. But I saw what nobody else saw. I saw how Eleanor's laugh became quieter. I saw how her shoulders tensed when the phone rang late at night. I saw the way she started checking the window before she opened the door. I asked her one afternoon while we sat on her porch, the air thick with summer heat, "Ellie, are you happy?" She hesitated too long. Then she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "He's good to me," she said. That wasn't an answer, and we both knew it. When Eleanor told me she was engaged, she didn't sound excited. She sounded like someone reading a sentence they couldn't change. "He asked me," she said quietly, twisting her fingers together. "And?" I pushed gently. "What did you say?" I said yes. My stomach sank. "Ellie, do you want to marry him?" Her eyes flicked to the road like she expected someone to appear. Then she whispered, "I don't know how to say no." That sentence hit me like a slap. I grabbed her hands hard enough to hurt. "You can say no," I insisted. "You can say no right now. You can tell your parents you changed your mind. You can tell him." She squeezed my hands hard enough to hurt. "You don't understand. He doesn't take no like other men." I wanted to ask what she meant, but the way her voice shook made my throat close up. I didn't want to imagine it. So I did what people often do when they're scared of the truth. I tried to make it smaller. "Maybe you're just nervous. It's a big change." Eleanor looked at me then, her eyes wet. "Sarah," she whispered, "promise me something. Anything. If I ever call you and I say the words, 'I lost my blue ribbon,' you come. You don't ask questions. You don't wait. You come." A chill crawled up my spine. "What does that mean?" Her smile was thin and trembling. "It means I'm in trouble." I swallowed. "Okay," I promised, forcing my voice steady. "I'll come." She nodded slowly like she was carving the promise into stone. Then she stood and wiped her face, pretending she hadn't almost broken in front of me. And the next day, her engagement announcement was in the paper. The wedding was enormous. 300 guests. A church packed with wealthy families and photographers and women in wide hats who whispered behind their gloves. Eleanor walked down the aisle like a ghost. That's the only way I can describe it. Her dress was ivory silk with pearls sewn into it like tiny trapped stars. She should have looked radiant, but she looked haunted. When she reached Thomas, he took her hands with the confidence of a man signing a contract. I sat in the second row, my bouquet trembling slightly in my grip, and I watched my best friend become someone else's property. When the preacher asked if anyone objected, I swear I felt my heart stop. I wanted to stand. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab Eleanor and run. But I didn't. I didn't. And that is one of the regrets I will carry to my grave. After the ceremony, at the reception, Thomas played the perfect husband. He laughed, he danced, he charmed everyone like he was born for it. And Eleanor smiled like a doll. When I pulled her aside on the terrace, away from the music and the crowd, I whispered, "Ellie, are you okay?" Her lips parted, like she was about to tell me the truth. Then Thomas appeared behind her like a shadow. His hand settled on her back, gentle enough for the cameras, firm enough for her to feel it. "Ready to go, Mrs. Whitmore?" he asked. Eleanor's face went pale. She looked at me just for a second, and in her eyes I saw a silent scream. Then she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, and she walked away. I watched her leave in his black Cadillac. I waved until my arm ached, and I didn't know it would be 3 years before I saw her again. 2 weeks after the wedding, I wrote my first letter. I sat at my desk, the ink smudging slightly because my hands were sweaty. "Dear Ellie, I miss you already. The house feels too quiet without you. How are you? Is the estate beautiful? Are you settling in? Please write back as soon as you can. Love always, Sarah." I folded it carefully. I sealed it. I wrote the address Thomas had given in the wedding invitation: Whitmore Estate, East Ridge Road, Charleston, SC. I mailed it the next morning, and I waited. A week passed. 2. No response. I told myself she was busy. A new wife, a new home, a new life. But then the phone calls started. Not from Eleanor, from her mother. "She hasn't written," Mrs. Morrison said, voice shaky. "Have you heard from her?" I felt cold. "No," I admitted, "but maybe she promised she'd write," her mother whispered. "She promised." I wrote again, and again, and again, every week, sometimes twice a week. I told her about small things to make her feel normal: weather, gossip, the bakery downtown, a funny story about my cousin falling off a ladder. But every letter ended the same way. "Please write back. I'm worried. I love you." And still, nothing. After 2 months, I drove to the Whitmore estate. I didn't tell anyone. I just got in my car and went. The estate gates were enormous, black iron with gold lettering. A man in a uniform stepped out of a small booth. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I'm here to see Mrs. Whitmore," I said, forcing confidence. He stared at me like I'd made a joke. "She's not receiving visitors." "I'm her best friend," I insisted. "She'll want to see me." He didn't even blink. "Mrs. Whitmore is not receiving visitors." I swallowed. "Can you tell her I came?" He hesitated, then nodded like he was humoring a child. "I'll pass the message along." The gates didn't open. I sat there in my car, staring at the mansion in the distance, white columns gleaming like bones. I felt something in my chest crack. I went home, and that night I wrote another letter. But this one was different. This one wasn't cheerful. This one was desperate. "Ellie, if you're not writing because you can't, if something is wrong, please find a way to tell me. Say anything. Send me one word. I will come. I swear I will." I mailed it, and I prayed. 3 weeks later, something happened that made my blood run cold. A letter arrived in my mailbox. My handwriting, my envelope, but it wasn't opened. Stamped in red ink across the front were 2 words: "Return to sender." My heart slammed against my ribs. I tore it open with shaking hands. Inside was the letter I'd written weeks ago, untouched, unread, like it had never mattered. Then another arrived the next day, and another. One by one, my letters came back, all of them. Some were bent, some were stained, but none were opened. It was like the world itself was telling me, "She will not hear you." I called the post office. They told me the address was valid. I called the Morrison home. Her mother sobbed into the phone. "They say she's fine. Thomas says she's fine, but why won't she speak to us?" I didn't know what to say, because deep down I knew the answer. She wasn't fine. She was trapped, and we were all standing outside the cage pretending we didn't see the bars. Time passed. A year. Then 2. I kept writing letters anyway, even when they came back, even when my fingers cramped, even when my heart felt bruised, because writing to Eleanor was the only way I could still feel close to her. And I waited for the code phrase. I lost my blue ribbon. But it never came. Not once. Sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night convinced the phone had rung. I'd rush to answer, but it was always silence. And the silence grew teeth. It ate at me. It whispered that I was helpless, that I had failed her, that maybe Eleanor didn't want me anymore, that maybe she was gone. Then, in the summer of 1968, 3 years after her wedding, I saw her. I was in town buying groceries when a black car rolled slowly past the corner. I didn't notice it at first, but then I saw her in the back seat, pale face, dark hair pulled tight, eyes staring out the window like she was looking for someone. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks. Then she turned her head, and our eyes met. My breath stopped. "Eleanor," I whispered. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just stared at me with an expression that shattered my soul, because in her eyes, I saw it. Fear. Not the fear of a girl, the fear of a woman who had learned what monsters look like. Her lips moved, just barely, and I read them. "Help me." The car kept moving, and I ran. I ran after it like a madwoman, groceries dropping, people shouting, my shoes slipping on the pavement. But the car was faster. It disappeared, and I stood in the street, shaking, surrounded by strangers, knowing one thing with absolute certainty. Eleanor was alive, and she was begging me. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I didn't breathe right. The next morning, I drove to the Whitmore estate again. This time, I didn't stop at the gate. I went to the back road I'd seen once as a teenager, the one locals used to whisper about. I parked near the tree line and walked through the woods until I reached the edge of the property. The mansion loomed ahead, silent and watching. I didn't know what I planned to do. I just knew I couldn't do nothing anymore. Then I saw a small building behind the main house, an old carriage house. The door was cracked open. I stepped inside. Dust coated everything. Cobwebs hung like lace. And in the corner, stacked under an old tarp, were boxes, dozens of them. I pulled the tarp back. My heart stopped. Each box had a label. Morrison, letters. Bennett, letters. Caldwell, reports. Client lists. My hands trembled so violently, I nearly dropped the lid as I opened the first box. Inside were envelopes, hundreds, all unopened, all carefully stored, like someone had collected them on purpose, like someone wanted to make sure Eleanor never heard a single word of love from the outside world. And then I saw it, my handwriting, my letters, every single one, neatly stacked, unopened, unsent. I sank to my knees on the dusty floor, and I cried like I hadn't cried since childhood, because it wasn't just the letters, it was the truth they represented. Thomas Whitmore didn't just marry Eleanor, he erased her. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes, hours, time didn't feel real. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, measured, confident. I froze. A shadow stretched across the floor, and a voice behind me said softly, "Miss Bennett." My blood turned to ice. I turned my head, and there stood Mrs. Caldwell, the housekeeper. Her face was calm. Her eyes were sharp. She held a tray in her hands like she'd been expecting me. "I wondered when you'd come looking," she said. My throat went dry. "Where is she?" I whispered. "Where's Eleanor?" Mrs. Caldwell sighed like I was exhausting. "Mrs. Whitmore is resting." "She's not resting," I snapped, standing up. "She's trapped. You've been stealing her letters." Mrs. Caldwell's expression didn't change. "We keep the household peaceful," she said simply. "Peaceful?" My voice cracked. "This is cruelty." Mrs. Caldwell stepped closer. Her voice dropped low. "You don't understand what kind of man Mr. Whitmore is." "I don't care," I hissed. "I'm taking her away." Mrs. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. "You can't." I swallowed hard. "Watch me." And that's when she said the words that still haunt me. "If you try," she whispered, "you'll disappear too." I should tell you I was brave. I should tell you I fought. But the truth is, I was terrified. Because in that moment, standing in that dusty carriage house, surrounded by evidence of a carefully controlled life, I realized something horrible. Thomas Whitmore didn't just have money, he had power. And power like his didn't need chains. It used people. It used systems. It used silence. Mrs. Caldwell stepped aside slightly, revealing something behind her, a small door. And from behind that door, I heard a sound, a faint, muffled sob. My heart broke. "Ellie?" I whispered. Mrs. Caldwell's eyes hardened. "She's not to be disturbed." I took one step forward, then another. Mrs. Caldwell's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. Her nails dug into my skin. "Don't," she warned. I looked into her face, and for the first time, I saw something behind her coldness. Fear. Not for Eleanor, for herself. She was afraid of Thomas, too. I yanked my wrist free, and I ran to the door. I flung it open, and there she was, Eleanor, sitting on the floor of a small room, her knees pulled to her chest. Her hair was dull, her eyes were hollow, her wrists were bruised, but she was alive. And when she looked up at me, she didn't smile, she didn't cry, she just whispered, "Sarah," like my name was a lifeline. I dropped to my knees beside her. "Oh my God," I choked. "Ellie, I'm here, I'm here." Her fingers gripped my sleeve like she was afraid I'd vanish. "I wrote," she whispered. "I wrote to you." My heart clenched. "I know," I sobbed. "I wrote too. He kept them all." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "He said you forgot me," she whispered. I shook my head violently. "No, never, never." Then Eleanor leaned close, her voice trembling. "You have to leave," she whispered urgently, "before he comes back." "I'm taking you with me," I said. Eleanor flinched. "You can't," she breathed. "Not like this, not today." "Ellie." "He'll kill you," she said, eyes wild. "He'll ruin your family. He'll bury you, and nobody will even know where you are." I stared at her. My mind screamed to fight. My heart screamed to run. And Eleanor looked at me like she was begging me to survive. "Please," she whispered, "promise me you'll live." I didn't want to promise that. I wanted to promise rescue. But I knew she was right. So I nodded, tears falling. "I promise." Eleanor squeezed my hand. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. "I found something, Sarah." "What?" "A ledger," she breathed. "Names, women, places, dates." My blood ran cold. "What kind of names?" Eleanor swallowed hard. "Girls," she whispered, "like me." And then she said the sentence that still makes me sick. "He sells us." I didn't leave empty-handed. I couldn't. Before I ran, I grabbed as many letters as I could carry and shoved them into my purse. I grabbed a folder from one of the boxes, papers marked with names and numbers. I didn't know what it meant yet, but I knew it mattered. Then I ran. I ran back through the woods, back to my car, back to my life, my heart pounding like a drum of war. I didn't look back, because I was afraid if I looked back, I'd see Thomas Whitmore standing there, smiling. You might wonder why I didn't go to the police. I did. 2 days later, shaking, I walked into the station and told them everything. I told them Eleanor was being held against her will. I told them about the letters. I told them about the boxes. I showed them the papers I'd taken. The officer listened politely. Then he sighed. "Miss Bennett," he said gently, "Mr. Whitmore is a respected man." "I don't care," I snapped. "He's a monster." The officer's eyes flicked to the door, then back to me. "Go home," he said quietly. "Forget you were here." My blood turned cold. "Why?" He leaned forward, voice barely audible. "Because you're not the first woman to come in here crying about Whitmore," he whispered. "And the last one, she vanished." My mouth went dry. He stared at me with something like pity. "Go," he repeated. So I did. And that's when I understood. The cage around Eleanor wasn't just the estate, it was the whole town. That night, I wrote Eleanor one last letter, but this one I didn't mail. I couldn't. Instead, I hid it inside a book we both loved as girls, Jane Eyre. I wrote, "Ellie, I found your letters. I found mine. I know he lied to you. I know he tried to erase me from your world, but I am still here. I will always be here. I'm going to find a way to bring you home. Hold on. Please hold on. Love, Sarah." Then I waited for the moment when I could get it to her. Eleanor didn't escape that year, or the next, but she didn't stop fighting, and neither did I. I made copies of the papers I stole. I hid them in different places. I sent anonymous tips to newspapers in other cities. I reached out to a journalist cousin in Savannah. I didn't know if anything would work, but I kept trying. Then one day, in 1971, Thomas Whitmore died. Suddenly. A heart attack, they said. People mourned him like he was a saint. They held memorials. They praised his legacy. They called him a pillar of society. I attended the funeral, not because I cared, but because I needed to see if Eleanor was there. She was, standing beside the casket, wearing black, her face blank, her eyes empty, but her hands were steady. And when she looked at me across the crowd, she gave me the smallest nod, a silent message. It's over. Years later, decades later, after Eleanor rebuilt her life in quiet pieces, after she moved away and changed her name and tried to breathe again, she invited me to visit her. We were old women then, wrinkled hands, gray hair, slow steps. But still, when I saw her, I saw the girl on the playground swing. We sat together on her porch, and she handed me a box. "This belongs to you," she said softly. I opened it, and inside were my letters, all of them, unopened. but she'd opened them now, every single one. Her eyes filled with tears. "He kept them from me," she whispered, "but I read them when I finally could, and they saved me." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't save you sooner." Eleanor reached for my hand. "You did," she said quietly. "You saved me by not forgetting me." I cried then, not like a young girl, like an old woman who finally let the grief come out. So, why am I telling you this now? Because I've learned something in 81 years. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it wears a tuxedo. Sometimes it donates to charities. Sometimes it smiles in church. And sometimes it steals letters. Not because letters are dangerous, but because love is. Because if Eleanor had known I was still there, she might have had the strength to run sooner. If she had known she wasn't alone, she might have survived differently. And the people who trap others, they know that. So they isolate, they silence, they erase. That's why the letters were never sent. That's why they were kept in a box like trophies. Because the cruelest prison isn't locked doors. It's the belief that nobody is coming. Tonight, I run my fingers over the envelopes in that box. My handwriting, my hope, my love. And I whisper into the rain-dark room, "Ellie, I came. I did come, even if it took too long." Outside, the rain keeps falling, soft and steady.